Father, I pray that as you have done this for us, help us to do the same for others. Lord, you are the perfect parent. And in our own humanity, God, we can never be perfect, but God, we can exhibit your characteristics. We can chase hard after our kids. We can chase hard after those that are lost. We can chase hard. So God, help us to remember what you've done for us, and then may we do the same for those you've entrusted to our care. In Jesus' name, amen. You can be seated. We are wrapping up our series today called PG, and that's why we've been serving popcorn. And if some of you are wondering, why are we serving popcorn? Well, it's like movie theater, right? PG. So, and that's why, we even had the buckets for the offering this morning, the popcorn buckets. And so it's not going towards popcorn, all right? Your offering doesn't go towards popcorn. It's going towards the church. But we're wrapping things up today. And as we finish this series, I want to remind you of a couple things. The first one is this, is that every parent has a God-given influence. That if you are a parent and God has trusted you with children, then that is a unique responsibility that is unique to you. And you have to do your very best. Because, it is a war. There are people who are trying to win your child's mind, heart, emotions. We talked about it last week with the Bob Pittman quote from MTV. Remember that? Where he said, we're not just going after the 14-year-old. We own them. Wow. And it's true, isn't it? I mean, you can't go anywhere nowadays. And even though MTV's a little bit kind of, irrelevant now, but you think about it, it's like it's not just about the MTV, it's about the mindset behind it, right? And so it's so important for us, because if kids are walking around with these earbuds in their ears all the time, this is a major way to the brain, is through the ear, right? And so when they got these earbuds in all the time, what are they hearing? They're hearing a message constantly, all right? And so it's important for us to be looking for creative ways that we can get the message into their minds, into their hearts. And so as a parent, you have a major responsibility of helping do that. But it's not just the parent's job, and this is why we're having this conversation, because all of us are, in a sense, we're parenting people. Okay, discipleship is about parenting other people, right? It's not just about the parent's job, but the church plays a role. And you play a role as part of the church, that you are investing in other people as well. Another thing is this, is that every parent helps shape a child's identity. And so the things that they're hearing at home are shaping what they believe about themselves. But the same thing is true for us at church, is that we've got to be reinforcing that people are important to God. That even children are important to God. What did Jesus say when the Pharisees and people the children were trying to come, and they were like, get away from Jesus, Stay away from him. He's trying to keep his robe nice and clean, right? And how often do we think that sometimes? Don't get the carpet dirty. Take your shoes off before you walk, right? Because and there's nothing wrong with that. But they were trying to do that with Jesus, and Jesus was like, no, let the children come. I'm not concerned about my robe. And some of us have this mentality with God that before we come before God, we've got to be pristine. Well, none of us would be able to come before God, right? And so we've got to be careful when we're communicating these ideals to our children, because how could they ever approach you if they were not perfect? And so the thing is that we shape their identity. We help them understand that. And then another thing is this, is that every parent today, we're talking about this, every parent has to pass on the instruction of God. This is why church is so important. Because if we do not communicate what the instruction of God is to the next generation, it will be lost. If we don't pass it on to the next generation, what's going to happen? It's incumbent on us that we make a good transfer. If somebody was transferring $1 million to my bank account, I'm going to make sure that transfer goes through, right? I'm going to be checking that the internet service is working today, right? I want to make sure that that transfer gets all the way through. How much more important is it when we're transferring God's truth to the next generation? We better make sure there's a good connection. We better make sure the transfer gets through, because if we don't, it's lost. And so today, we're going to talk about this passage one more time. Let's look at Psalm 127, verses 3 through 5, and then we're going to jump even further back into another passage in Deuteronomy. But it says, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. Children are born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them. He will not be put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gates. Last week, I was trying to encourage you that you have to be a warrior. You got to fight for your family. You got to fight for your kids. You cannot, your option is warrior or what? Wimp. Right? You're either a warrior or you're a wimp. It's like even if you don't know what to do, you better rush in there and do something, right? You better do something. Listen, I'm not a firefighter, but if the building is burning down, I'm going to go in and try to get as many people as I can, right? I'm not going to say, well, I need to get more training. No, I don't have time for that. The building's burning down, right? That's a warrior. They're not waiting for special training. They're not waiting for, somebody else to do it. It's like, look, it is on fire. Do something now. You can't wait. So don't be a wimp. Even if you don't know what to do, do something and trust God. Trust God. I thought this was kind of funny. This quote, children today are tyrants. They contradict their parents, gobble their food, and tyrannize their teachers. Sounds pretty relevant, right? Look who said it. Socrates. Wanted to share that with you because, this has been the mentality for years. It's not new to us. This is what Socrates thought back in his day. That kids, they're just tyrants. They're just tyrannizing me. It's like, oh, they're so horrible. And yet, it's the way kids always are. It's not new with you. And so when we look at this passage in Deuteronomy, if you got a Bible, turn to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 5 through 9. Moses is having this final conversation with the people of Israel. And he gives this kind of challenge, this charge to them. And I want to give it to you this morning because I think it's appropriate for us and where we are, embarking upon, what would be the promised land. I mean, it's God has got another generation that he wants to send forth to do his work. And so we have been given that charge to let's make sure they get to the promised land. We've got to equip them. We've got to help them. And so I want to help you this morning. So he says, and you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road and when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and your gates. Now, we've heard this passage before to some degree. Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength, right? So Jesus is thinking back to this passage right here, okay? The Shema. Jesus was a Hebrew boy. He learned this. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, with all of your strength, with all of your mind. But one of the things about it, and I don't know if I guess it's not on here, but it's on a different translation. That there's a verse that goes right before that, verse number 4. Okay? Because 4 comes before 5. So it says, right? What anybody see what that says there? Is it there? What does verse number 4 say? Exactly. Hear, O Israel. In other words, listen, pay attention. Now, who's he talking to here? Israel. He's saying, I'm not just talking to one of you. I'm talking to all of you. Everybody there wasn't a parent. So this isn't just reserved for parents. This is for everyone, for the whole nation. He says, listen to me. Pay attention. You better listen to this. Hear, O Israel. The Lord your God is one. Now, that's kind of a strange thing to say, right? The Lord your God is one. Why do you think he starts out with that? Pay attention. The Lord your God is one. What does that mean? He's alone. He's what? There's no other. First. Okay, let's think about this, okay? We believe in a Godhead who is what? Three. Father, Son, Spirit. 3 in 1. And yet he says the Lord your God is one. When a husband and wife get together and they're married, what does it say? The two shall become one. Okay? So what God is communicating to us here, he's saying this. You have got to be unified in your family. Your husband, wife, children should be one. One heart, one mind, one passion. It's part of the problem with families today is you got dads who think one thing, moms who think another thing, and kids who don't know what to think. Right? Because everybody's divided. And so God starts out right here and he says this, you better get together. You better get your minds together. You better get your hearts together. You need to be one. You cannot have discipline this way and discipline that way and everybody all over the place. He says you've got to come together. Husbands and wives, moms and dads, you've got to work together. You cannot be fighting each other because that is not one. God is in perfect unity, Father, Son, Spirit. And so he says this, that's where it all starts. It all starts with understanding unity with God. And so, I've got this highlighted here, you. Now, in English, this is a little confusing because in English, you is both singular and plural. So who is the you? Everybody. Because he's talking to Israel, right? So that's the you. Okay? So he's saying, everybody who's part of Israel, you must love the Lord your God. But if it's supposed to be all of us, where does that start? Well, it starts with you. And you, and you, and you. I think it's ironic, isn't it? That we have a word that's both singular and plural. We have a God that's both singular and plural. Interesting, right? And so, if we are going to have families that are going to do what God wants us to do, it's not just about, well, you. No, it's about me. I've got to do what I'm supposed to do. You've got to do what you're supposed to do. And here's why. I said this a couple weeks ago. Because more is caught than taught. If you're not living right, it doesn't matter what you say. Did you know this? That your kids, most kids today, they know if you're lying. You know why? Because they watch you. It's not like they've got some lie detector hooked up. You know, they just watch you. And they know whether you're lying or telling the truth. And so here's the thing, is that if you want them to get God's truth, you've got to live God's truth. Because look, it's been a while since I've done this. Let me go back over here to my blocks. All right. I'm not a blockhead, but I want to point this out. This is, right? Who? Parents' influence. Right here. Okay? This is school. Church. All right? So, if we're going to work together, all right, we should work together again. We have 3, okay, 3 in 1. That's how it should work. But if it's going to be at home, if this is your greatest opportunity to influence your kids, all right? Got this Gatorade. Anybody like Gatorade? Yeah? Does anybody want one? I've got several. Huh? Yeah. Because, it's been a while since I've given some stuff away. So anybody want a Gatorade? Yeah. I think what is this one? This is fruit punch, okay? Yeah. You know what I would normally throw them out, but I don't want to knock anybody out this morning. So, but I've got some more here. Who else? Who needs some love this morning? All right, here you go. Okay. So here's the thing. All right, when we're looking at this stuff here, okay, Gatorade. Who else? Want one? Here you go. All right. So let me use my Gatorade. Right. Okay. So this one's for illustration. You're welcome. So here's the thing. If more is caught than taught, all right? If more is caught than taught, all right? I have to ask you this. Because Gatorade made it famous. What is their slogan? Is it in you? Because that's all that matters as a parent. Is it in you? Because you can't expect it to be in them if it ain't in you. And a lot of us are expecting our kids to do better than we are. And you want it to be in your kids, but you're not transferring it to your kids. So is it in you? Is it in you? Don't expect it to be in your kids if it's not in you. Amen. So you got to work on you, right? That's what that passage just said. Hear, O Israel, you love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Because more is caught than taught. And if you love the Lord your God, if you are joyous at home, if you are a person of peace at home, if you are gentle, if you are kind, if you are loving to your neighbor, you know what? Your kids will be. Because it's what's in you. Is it in you? Don't expect it to be in your kids if it's not in you. Then he goes on. And he says, let me get back to it. He says, you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly. Now, I was talking about commitment, kind of joking a little bit back there, but the thing about it is this, is that for the most part, many of us in this room, commitment is important, okay? And the thing is, you can't be committed to everything. And that's where we have a problem, is we overcommit. We talked about this, is that we overcommit. And so then you just get stressed out. But listen, you've got to commit to the most important things first, all right? You've heard this before, first things first. So what's first? God, right? So he says, commit yourself to this wholeheartedly. Are you committed to God wholeheartedly? Or is it just half-hearted? Is it just when it's convenient? He says, you have got to pass this on to the next generation, but it will not happen if it is not a wholehearted effort. You've got to put your whole self into it. You've got to give your all. Sorry. I had another slide I wanted to show you, but I already moved on. So look at this. What? Where am I? It's not the one I wanted. There. Children are natural mimics who act like their parents despite every good effort to teach them good manners. Doesn't that drive you crazy? It's like your kids know the right thing to do. And it's like, and they do the other thing. Because you know why? Because they watch you, right? And they do what you do. No matter how many times you tell them not to. They're going to do what you do. And so it's so important for you to be the role model. This used to drive me crazy. You remember a few years ago and they had these ads from NBA stars and professional football players or whatever, and they were like, I'm not a role model. I'm not a role model. Yes, you are. Quit trying to act like you're not. You love it when people are walking around with your jersey on. You love it when kids are coming up to you for their autograph. You love it because you're a role model. Why else would they be doing that? I'm not walking around trying to get somebody's autograph if they're not my role model. I don't care, right? I'm not wearing your jersey because, well, I just thought I'd pick it out of the closet one day. Yeah, it's like, it's a role model. And everybody's trying to get out of being a role model. Well, listen, you are a role model to somebody. No matter what you think your influence is. Even the teenagers in this room, I'm telling you, there are little kids who look up to you. There are little kids who mimic you, who walk around and say the things that you say. Where did you hear that? Brother, right? Who taught you that? Right? It came because of your influence. You guys have seen this happen before. You know, you take your shoes off at the door, you know, and Dad comes home, he's got a big old shoes there, and the little kid comes, and what do? They try to step into Daddy's shoes. And we think it's cute. Oh, how cute. But what a picture. That they are trying to walk in our shoes. Isn't that what Jesus said when he said, come and follow me? He said, come and walk in my shoes. You see, being a role model is not something we should try to avoid. It's something we should embrace. And we should say, because I am a role model, I'm going to be the best one I can be. I hope you will do the same thing. Being a role model doesn't mean being perfect. It actually means admitting your imperfections. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Would you forgive me? You see, if you could have that kind of conversation with some of your children, it would change the dynamic of everything. I'm telling you. I grew up in a broken home. I grew up with, a dysfunctional family, right? Almost all of us have been in a situation like that. And so just think of how powerful some of those words would have been if you'd heard them when you were 10, 11, 13, 16. Now you have the power, and you can take that power and use it and say, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You take the step. You initiate. You be the kind of role model. Here's why. Because 40% of church-going kids say they have no role model to respect. It says church-going kids who say, there's no one in my church that I respect. You know why? Because they see you outside of church. You know what's so crazy? It's like, this is what's so crazy. It's like people, you can run into people at Walmart and they might not even talk to you. Really? Are you kidding me? I mean, you see me at church. Why wouldn't you talk to me at Walmart? Right? It's ridiculous. And so the thing about it is this, is that being the kind of role model. You're one way at church, but you're a different way someplace else. That's inconsistent. And that communicates volumes. Volumes. So, look at this right here. He says, you must commit yourselves to these wholeheartedly that I'm giving you today. And then he says, repeat them again and again, and again and again, and again and again, and again and again, and again and again. And again and again, and again and again, and again and again, like a record, again and again. Do you guys remember the record players and it would have a scratch on the record? And that little needle would just go boop, boop, again and again, again and again, again and again, again and again. And you'd have to walk in and hit the record player again and again, again and again, right? And some of you may feel like I'm a broken record. Yes! Because that's what the Bible says. Again and again. Again and again. Right? So you just break it out on your kids and say, you know what? I'm doing what the Bible said. The Bible said, say it again and again. Again and again. You want to get in with me? Again and again. Again and again. Right? Because you see, that's how we learn. You learn it by doing it again and again. Some of us, you do it one time and you quit. You do it one time, it was hard. Did it one time and didn't get through. Did it one time and, oh, you're so hard-headed. That's why we got to do it again and again, right? So he says, you've got to do this over and over and over again. You got to be on repeat mode. You're not just a role model. You got to repeat it again and again. Mark Twain said this. He said, when I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could barely stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much he learned in only 7 years. Right? It's like, wow, that man blew me away with everything he learned in the last 7 years. It wasn't that his dad learned anything. It's just Mark was finally in a place where he could understand what his dad was saying. And this is why you have to do it again and again. Here's why. Because 86% of Christian teens are confused about what they believe and why. 60% believe that they have to somehow earn their salvation. You got to be good. 2/3 of American teens believe that Satan is just a symbol of evil and not a real entity. 53% of Christian teens don't believe that Jesus was perfect and sinless. Now let me ask you, is this what you believe? Are we passing this on to other people, to our children? Because if this is what the Christian teens believe, we're not saying the right thing again and again. We're not having the right connection. The transfer is not happening. There's a problem. And so, in Deuteronomy chapter 6, Moses gives us this kind of outline of what to do. And I think this is great. I mean, it's not really that hard. He goes through this list and he says, talk to them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and your gates. So today I want to, real quickly, you guys remember 8 is enough? That TV show? Okay, so today I'm going to give you 8 is enough, all right? 8 is enough. So let's look at this, okay? First thing he says, talk about them when you're at home, all right? So the first thing is this. Are you talking about it to your kids at home? I don't want to say you spend more time with your kids at home. You might spend more time with them other places, but he covers that in just a minute. But he says, start at home, okay? Start at home. You've got to teach them these things when they're at home. It is not the church's responsibility to teach your kids about Jesus. I only see them, the teachers back here, only see them once a week for less than an hour sometimes. How are we going to communicate the belief? You've got to do that. It starts at home. You've got to be committed to teaching your kids about a relationship with God that's made possible through Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for us because we are all sinful people. It starts at home. And then he says, in the car. Now, you didn't catch that, but he said, on the road, right? They didn't have cars back then. They had camels and donkeys and whatever. And when they were traveling places, he said, look, when you're on your way to the marketplace, have a conversation with your kids. Talk to them. When they want to hear a song on the radio, well, you listen to that song too. Don't just zone out. You need to listen. And then when you hear something that's the antithesis, the opposite of what is biblical, you have a conversation about it. When you're at home and you're watching these shows and your kid's like, oh, I really want to watch this show. This show is great. Everybody at school's talking about it. And you say, okay, well, we're going to watch it together with the Bible. Right? And we're going to talk about it, right? We're going to talk about what's happening on that screen right there. And we're going to see how what's on that screen lines up with what's in this book. Because we need to have this conversation. You need to know why I'm telling you that's not a good show. It's not just because mom and dad said so. There's somebody bigger than mom and dad. And his name's G-O-D, right? And so we're going to see what God has to say about this. Let's talk about it at home, in the car, at the table. The only conversation that usually happens at the table about God is the 5-second prayer. Why not have a conversation about God while you're eating a meal? Talk about God with your kids. Ask them, how their day was, but ask them this: how did you see God at work today? How was God moving in your school today? What do you think broke God's heart that you saw today? You think bullying breaks God's heart? You think your teacher cussing breaks God's heart? What do you think about that? And then you have a conversation. You've got to take advantage of these moments, because I'm telling you, before you know it, those moments are going to be gone. You won't be having those conversations. It'll be too late. At their bedside, when things are naturally slowing down, when they're not running around at Mach 10, right? When you finally got them, take that moment when they're actually listening. Say a prayer. Let them hear you say their name to God. Let them know that you are relying on God, so that they don't have to just rely on you, right? They see that mommy and daddy's relying on God. And so I can rely on God. God's trustworthy. God's faithful. Communicate that. Then he says this. He says, tie them on their hands. What do you think that means? Bracelet? Tattoo, if you want to. Yeah. Come here, kid. Right? No, he says, listen, symbolically, years ago they were doing purity rings. We have commitment rings. Rings are symbolic. And so he says this, if you want to give your kid a ring, inscribe it. Inscribe something on it. It says inscribe these things. Give them a ring to help them remember. Do whatever you have to. Years ago, people used to tie strings around their finger, right? For what? To remember something. You know what we do now? You don't tie a ribbon around your finger. People are like, what is that? Might be a good conversation starter. But you know what? Set an alarm. If you need a reminder, set an alarm. Do whatever works for you, but do something to remember. So back in this day, they were like, look, we tie these things around our hands, around our fingers. If you want to give a ring, give a ring. I don't care what you do, but you need to give them reminders. We all forget. All of us forget things. We've had that conversation before too. I've reached that age where, I could have my glasses like this, and I'm like looking for them, right? Where are they, right? It's right on my head, but I don't see it. So I'm not thinking about it because I don't see it. And the thing is this, is that we've got to give kids reminders so they see it. He goes on and he says this. Don't just put it on their hands, put it on their heads. Right? Do-rag, hat, scarf, whatever you want it to be, give them a reminder. Kids go places nowadays, and you go shop at Lids. Those of us who are older, y'all know what Lids is? It's a hat place, okay? Because that's what they call it, a lid. It's a lid, all right? So give your kid a lid, all right? Take them to Lids and inscribe something on it. It doesn't have to be, like a Bible verse, but give them a logo. Give them a symbol that represents you and your family. Do it as a family and say, hey, this is who we are. This is what defines us. One of the things that me and my brother do, every time I go back home, and we both will drive back to our old neighborhood and we see the house that we lived in. And what's so awesome about that house, not that it's just nostalgic or whatever, but we'll get out and we'll go up to the front step because my granddad built that house. And so we'll go up to the front step, and we remember this to this day when he put that step in and he wrote Lockhart on that front step. And you know what? It's still there today. Because that's my house, right? That's my house. It's got my name on it. I might not be living there, but I know who built that house. I know who lived in that house, and it's got my name on it. So don't tell me it ain't my house, right? We've got to give our kids that sense of identity to say, you know what? This is my house. This is who I am. This is who our family is. This is the way we do things. We worship God. We serve him. We love him. Inscribe them at home. I don't know what you need to do. Maybe you need to, get a family crest. Maybe you need to put up banners at your house. Have something on the front door, welcome mat. Put your name, whatever you need to do, but you need to have images, pictures of what is important to you. And if God is important to us, that should be demonstrated in our homes, right? Amen? And then the final thing is this. Describe them in the world. Describe what you see in the world. When you see signs of God moving around you, you've got to point that out. Because if your kids are not tuned into God, they may miss that message. When you see somebody doing good, you need to direct your kids' attention to that and say, look what just happened there. That's God. That's God. When Jesus was talking to the disciples in Acts 1:8, he said this. He said, you will be my what? Not disciples. He said, you will be my witnesses. Why does he use the word witness? We've kind of changed that word around to mean that means, I go and I tell people about Jesus. It's not what a witness does. A witness is just pointing out what they see. That's all you do. As a witness, you just stand back and you just watch and you say, hey, do you see what I see? I see something. Do you see what I see? And then you just tell what you saw. And so you are supposed to be witnesses. And you will be my witnesses. Where? It's so interesting, he says, in Jerusalem, Judea, wherever you go, point these things out in the world. When your kids are going with you, point it out. Hey, God's working over there. Look at what God just did. Oh, that was a man. No, that was God working through a man. Right? Oh, yeah, that was my friend. My friend was so kind. No, that was God's Spirit. Because God is kind. God is generous. God is loving. You've got to point these things out. Otherwise, they will not see it. Abraham Lincoln said this, our children are a timeless message we will send into a generation we will never see. Remember I was talking to you about this last week, legacy, the word legacy. What does it mean? It means send forth, right? On a mission. We're sending them forward. We're sending them forward. So, as we wrap things up today, I want to encourage you that maybe you're not just a role model. Maybe you don't just need to repeat it again and again, but maybe you need to build a rite of passage. This is kind of something that's been lost in our society today. We used to, it was a big deal. You get, you go through this process of getting a car and on and on and on. And a lot of other cultures, they do these things where it's like when you turn 12, a Jewish boy has a bar mitzvah. Jewish girl, I can't remember what, bet mitzvah, I think is what it's called. And then, the Spanish culture, they have what? What's it called again? Yeah. Quesadilla? Quinceañera. Okay, it's the quinceañera. I know one word. All right. So, they have these rites of passages, okay? These things that they say, you are now an adult. And you need to think as an adult. You're not a kid anymore. Remember Paul said this? When I was a child, I thought as a child, I acted like a child. But then I had this rite of passage where I put away childish things. And then I had responsibility. And then I had accountability. Because now I'm not a child anymore. And I'm treated like an adult in the community. I'm talked to that way. I'm not looked down upon. Isn't it interesting when Paul was talking to Timothy? Timothy had become pastor of a church. He was a young guy, 30-something. Young. And Paul said this to Timothy. He said, don't let them look down on you because of your age. He said, you are a young man. You're a pastor of the church now. And you need to act like it. We need to treat our children in the same way. That they are not just a kid. They are someone who is created in the image of God. And we've been entrusted with that. And we are to equip them. And so, here's what we're going to do. I've got these blocks here again. We're done with our blocks after today. So, here's what I want to ask you to do. If you are saying, I want to, and I don't know if I've got enough here for everybody in here, but maybe one person from the family, from your family, can come up and get a block. And what this is going to be symbolic of is saying, hey, I'm going to commit to wholeheartedly serving the Lord. It's for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's for me and my house, we are going to diligently pursue God's kingdom. This is who we are. And it starts with me. And I'm going to do all I can do to send forth, to parent, not just the people that God entrusts me with as children, but every person that comes across my path. I want to infuse them with the love, the message of God. And so, I'm going to invite you to come up and get a block as a symbol to saying this. I'm going to start intentionally passing these things on to my kids. It's not just going to be accidental. It's going to be intentional. And it starts today. So, if that's you come up, you get a block, and you say, you know what? I'm going to start at home, at work, in school, Walmart. I want to be the person I need to be for me and my family. I want to take this step. And then you be creative in how you do it. If we run out of blocks, I got some other blocks back here too. It's all right, I got plenty. Yeah, you're a holy block. Yeah. Anybody else want to get one? Even if you're a kid, okay, you can say, hey, I'm saying as a teenager or whatever, or as a single person, it doesn't matter. Listen, God's going to entrust you with influence, right? Everybody's got influence. We talked about that. So it starts with you. Yeah, ladies, come on up and say, look, I want me and my family. We're going to do what we need to do, right? This is not just for parents. This is for you saying, I want to do all I can do to influence and parent people around me. You might be a school teacher that has influence over, hundreds of kids in a lifetime. And you're a parent to them. Some of you could be Sunday school teachers, right? You could be instructors. You look at the way you could be a coach. And you're parenting people, right? Because, again, you are a role model. You don't get to choose whether you are. Somebody else chooses you to be that. And God has chosen you to be that. And so, as we wrap things up, one last little fun thing. Because you see, y'all know I like to do stuff like this. You see, when I was growing up, one of the things that was told to me is that this is great. I love my job. I love being here because I don't know if I could do this anywhere else. but I love that I can do it here, is that, you see, the thing about it is this, is that many of you got blocks, but you see, you're supposed to be a chip off the old block, right? And so this morning, you've got chips, because I want you to understand that all of you, okay, are supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to help create chips off the old block. Let me come over on this side. Save my arm. All right? So, yeah. Oh. All right? So, is it in you? Be a blockhead. Create chips off the old block, right? Because you see, what's in you is going to be in them. Let's pray. So God, we thank you that you've given us a role. Even if we don't have physical children, we are still gifted with the privilege to parent. We are told, all of us, to make disciples. We are told, all of us, to invest in the people around us, to be a good neighbor. And that's what good neighbors do. They care for one another. That's what a good church does. So, Father, I pray that you would help us, Lord, not just to come to church, but to be the church. That we would take this role seriously. That you've entrusted to us the opportunity to influence, to help shape the identity, to instruct in the path of righteousness. So, God, help us today to not just make a visible commitment like this, but God, to stick to it, because that's what a commitment is. You stick to it. You don't just do it for show. You do it for real. So God, I pray in this moment, in this time, that we would realize that we get a chance to make some chips off the old block. But the block has got to be good. It's got to be in us. And so, Father, start with us. Start with me. Work in me. And out of me, just like you did out of Isaac. Brought the nation of Israel. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind. Commit yourself to these things wholeheartedly. Hear, O New Vision Church, love the Lord your God